G'day everyone and welcome back to the shed. Just bringing you a bit of an update on Lois the LTD for my old mate Dave, and I'm at the stage where I'm cutting and buffing the paint. So cutting means we're going to sand it all back smooth after we've painted the car and get rid of any orange peel that might be in the paint, and then we're going to buff it with a cutting compound on top of that. So what I've done is this one, I had a bit of trouble when I was painting it. It was a little bit too hot for the hardener I had, and it didn't flow out as much as I would like. Flowed out fine, and I got roughly a new car peel on the car off the gun. I like to get them a bit flatter than that off the gun, but we were just chasing our tail. It was 37, 38 degrees outside and well hotter than that inside the shed, so probably should have waited until the evening to paint it when it cooled down, but we had old mate Dave here and he wanted to watch his car being painted, so we did what we did and we got what we got. So the peel that was on the car, I've cut that 3 times. So basically I've started with wet sanding the whole car with 800 grit paper, and the idea of the 800 grit paper is it cuts the peel. If you go with too fine a paper and you're colour sanding, the paper will follow the contours, so you might wind up chasing peel all the way down until you cut through the paint. Another important thing is if you are intending to buff a car you're painting, put extra paint on it over what the paint manufacturer recommends. So on this particular car, it's a direct gloss colour, it's Glazeret 22 line. They say 2 coats of paint, we put 4 coats on. And that gives us plenty of material that we can sand it right back smooth, and then we've got plenty of material that we can be buffing away in, and we've got no danger of cutting through the paint anywhere and having to do a secondary repair. So 800 grit wet, got that all nice and smooth, and then I've run over it with a 1000 grit disc on my Dynabrade sander, and 1000 grit dry is pretty much the same as 1500 grit wet, because you sort of just get different cutting action between your dry paper and your wet paper. So at that, that's pretty fine, and it's not cutting very fast at all, and you're going to sit there for a while and you're going to be thinking, am I actually doing any good here or not? But you are, and what you're looking for is your hand sanding scratches. So when you're sanding, automatically we're going to be blocking the car, and we're going to be blocking the car in various ways, and you'll get this little cross hatching of sanding scratches that you can see because they're 800 grit, they're quite visible. So when we've got the disc sander on it and we're buzzing along, we've got to be looking through the surface layer that we're at, and we're looking for any block sanding marks that are still present in our panel. Now, I will chase them until they just about disappear on that 1000 grit layer. Then I'll move up to a 3000 grit disc and start doing the same thing again. And once I know that all those hand sanding scratches have disappeared, I've also got rid of all the 1000 grit scratches from the first go over with the sanding disc. So it's hours and hours and hours to do it nice. You're also going to get a lot of areas like this that you can't get into with the disc sander. So back to the wet paper, and I will sand them from the 800 level to 1200 all the way through, and then I'll get onto it with some 2000 grit paper. And 2000 grit paper, if you've never used it, try turning your 800 paper over and rubbing with that. You get about the same amount of slide on it and things like that. So it doesn't cut very fast at all. And that is the painstaking part of the whole job. So from there, we have got a sanded car, no gloss on it anywhere, and we're going to start cutting it. Now, me being a bit of a 3M guy, I do promote the 3M product, but I've got one thing I like better than 3M to start with. This is an Australian company, Juice, and they do a couple of grades of cutting compound. One they call Super C, one they call Q Cut. One's supposed to be a bit coarser than the other. There's not much in it, like you really are splitting hairs. I like the Q Cut because it cuts quick and it finishes up nice straight off the buff. So we'll just grab a close up on one side of the car. We've only done this side with the Q Cut. This side of the car has just been cut with the Q Cut. It comes up very nice off the buff, and if you were just going to say this was an everyday driver and you're just doing a bit of a repair to put it back on the road, that would be all you need. If you just put a hand polish on top of that, it'd look really nice. But from there, I like to move on to the 3M product. Now, for Q Cut, I use the lamb's wool buff, and I find that has the best cutting action, but it also finishes nicely as well. And Probably I'm a little bit old-fashioned. When I started, we only had lamb's wool buffs, but it's always my fallback. I go back to that time and time again, and I really believe I do get my best results with that lamb's wool buff. Now, 3M give us what they call their 1, 2, 3 system, where they give you 3 grades of material and they're colour coded. So you've got a green lid on this one, a black lid and a blue lid, and they match up to your buffing pads. So you've got a green buffing pad for the green lid and a blue one, and naturally a black one for the black one there. My experience, once again, the lamb's wool pad cuts quicker, faster, cleans up faster than what the foam one does. The foam one tends to sit there for quite a while, sitting there doing nothing. This one gets in and gets the job done. So I've substituted the green one for a lamb's wool, but after that I go with the foam pads all the way through. Now, the juice is a coarser cut than this first one on the 3M, and without a doubt at all, a pre-cut with juice and then move on to the 3M is going to save you a lot of time. And when you look at a big car like Dave's LTD, there's going to be a few hours of buffing in there. The black lid one is what they call a swirl remover. So when you are actually buffing, you'll get little spiral marks, and they're just super fine scratches in the finish, and you put it outside in the sun and you're going to see all this sort of spirally stuff down the car in your paint. So this one cuts that away, and then the blue one is simply a machine polish on top of that. I tend to do these 2 steps together, and then I'll do all my assembly on the car, just in case I've got to do a touch-up from a chip or something like that on the way through. This car's got to head off to the trimmer, and so we'll get to the point where he can have it, and the same thing, it's out of our hands then. It's going to have to be transported. It could have a little chip or something like that put on it when it goes on the tow truck, and at the trimmers and on the return journey as well. So that's as far as I like to push it for now, and then when it comes back, everything's going to be good, I know it, and we can move on to these to do the finishing on the car. Now, from here, I'm going to fit the doors up. I'll get the door handles and the glass in that, and that way it can go over on the back of a tilt tray, and the trimmer's going to do the vinyl roof, he'll do the headliner inside the car, and we'll fit the glass while it's at the trimmers, and then it all comes back all sealed up. Now, naturally, you want the door handles on it so other people working on the car aren't fumbling around and trying to get to rods and things to try and get the doors open. Just makes it easier for them. But you do run the risk, if you've got a car like this, rear window's only just been fitted and nothing in the sides of it and you're transporting it, the wind can catch and it can push that back window out. Have seen it happen before. So I don't like to take any chances. That's why we'll do that. The other thing I'm going to do before it goes to the trimmer is I will sand all of the roof. Now at this stage the roof's all entirely just off the gun, but I'll give that a good sand with 800 grit paper before he gets it, and that's just so the glue for the vinyl roof's going to bite into the paint and stick to it really nicely. So next update, we'll probably have the car back with a vinyl roof on it and a headliner in it, and we'll be fitting up the bits and pieces in it. So thanks for watching, guys. Keep safe, keep it real. We'll see you next time.